edition of the Business and Personal Podcast, where we bring you closer to the people you do business with. And today we're excited to have Tiffany Walehwa. Did I get that right, Tiffany?
You got it right.
Practice makes perfect. Good deal. Tiffany Walehwa. She is the founder and CEO of Felicity Counseling Services. They're based out of St. Louis, Missouri, but also work with people in Texas and California. And mental health affects so many people, and it's Mental Health Awareness Month right now. So I thought it'd be a great time to get Tiffany on. So first of all, Tiffany, thanks for fitting us in your busy schedule.
Yeah, thanks so much. And I really appreciate the invite. And just like you mentioned, with May being Mental Health Awareness Month, and it's a perfect topic and obviously something that I really love to talk about. So I'm happy to be here.
Well, this is the Business and Personal Podcast. So just give people a little bit an idea about who you are, what your background is, and what eventually led you to Felicity.
Sure. So as you mentioned, so my name is Tiffany Walehwa, and I started Felicity Counseling back in 2017. It was kind of grown out of lots of different things. Growing up, there was a pretty strong presence of mental health issues within my family. And so the nice thing about that was there was lots of support. And so one of the things that, as I kind of progressed in my career, I started to notice is that support is really, really foundational for lots of other things. So starting out in community mental health, as a lot of us do, I got to work with all kinds of great people, and including kids and families. And that really started to grow interest in working with more marginalized communities or folks that I felt like could really, really use the services, but may not have access, or if they did have access, had some apprehension about seeking them out. So that's where Felicity came from, gave me that freedom to work with folks that I really, really was passionate about, or that I could connect with or resonate with. And then, yeah, we've just grown from there.
You know, one interesting thing when COVID hit was I've seen where it's had positive impacts on some businesses and industries, negative on others. From, outside looking in and everything that I read, it seems like it has helped your industry in a way that it's more mainstream now. People aren't as scared to seek help. Is that sort of something that you've experienced?
Yeah, definitely. With COVID, there were lots of other circumstantial things that kind of highlighted some needs for mental health services. So, of course, being kind of trapped in your house or away from people, or trapped in your house with people, highlighted a lot of different things. And of course, just your regular kind of anxiety and depression. So now you have lots of people who are having all these feelings. And one of the beautiful things about COVID is that it made mental health access made more access, basically. So that's when telemental health became like more of a thing. It was always there, but with COVID, there were a lot of insurance companies that made accommodations for folks to be able to access those services. And so, yeah, now telemental health is a thing that's here to stay. I have a lot of folks that once we did get back into the office, they wanted to keep up with their telemental health services, because, yeah, you don't have to worry about traffic or parking or any of those kinds of things. So COVID brought about a lot of mental health challenges, but it also brought a lot of accessibility as well.
Yeah, I remember those days our kids thought it was the best thing ever. Just roll out of bed and go to school. Oh my gosh, this is so great. And then it reaches a point where it's like a mental
Yeah.
strain. And I'm also hearing of more young kids seeking help too, that kind of affected them in that way. So on one hand, it's disappointing that they need the help, but it's also good to hear that more young kids are seeking help.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, I think, again, with that kind of accessibility, folks also had their own kind of experiences with their kids that they may not have had otherwise. So when your child is away at school for 8 hours, there might be things that are going on, but you just wouldn't be aware of it in the same way. Things like, is it really hard for them to pay attention in class? Is it not just about talking a lot, or is there other things going on? Or the things that come up with getting in the way of getting homework assignments done, or sleep habits, whatever. But it made a lot of caregivers aware in a way that I don't think that they may have been in the past. And since they were also experiencing some things, I think it just kind of created its own vehicle for folks to reach out for services, including youth. It's just a lot more mainstream now. And so I know for my kids, a lot of them are folks, they wanted support. They will ask their caregiver, like, I want to go talk to somebody. And so that's really cool when that happens and they listen and we get to participate with that family.
So what can people expect about the experience of working with you? And then, what ultimately is success? How do you judge success in the end when you're working with someone?
Yeah, so for me, one of the things that's really, really important, and hopefully the thing that's stressed from the moment of contact, whether it's email or websites or what have you, is that we want to create a safe space. So we want to create a safe space, a welcoming space, a space where you know that you are here and you'll be supported for the needs that you're coming in for. So I like to make a point of letting people know that I don't claim one specific service. So there's lots of alphabet soup in our industry. So there's CBTs and DBTs and EMDRs and all kinds of different things. And I feel fortunate that I've been trained in most of them. But I really want to make sure that we get to know each other first. Our relationship is the most important thing. And that's not only because I think so, but it's also statistically supported. But anyway, so coming in, want you to know that this is just for you. It's all about you. It's not trying to put you into any kind of box or fit you into any kind of other cookie cutter situation. We get to know each other. We figure out what the issue is, and then we figure out the best way to approach it. So creating community from day one.
And you also have a unique business in that you really don't want repeat business, right? That you're hoping that you can help somebody out and they don't need to come back. Sometimes it can be a long process, but if you do reach the point where you feel like someone has gotten better and maybe they don't need your care any longer, what are some things, do you let them kind of make that decision, or do you kind of see it yourself and feel like, hey, I don't think you need the counseling anymore?
Yeah, it's something that we do together. So, even in referencing what success looks like, that can be all kinds of different things. So I happen to work with a lot of folks who have experience of complex trauma. So there's lots and lots of layers of that. And so we kind of joke around sometimes that, like, once we get past a certain point, we get to the next one. So we tackle one difficult thing so that we have access to get to the next difficult thing. So that's success. And other folks, they're coming in for a specific kind of anxiety or some kind of symptom that they're trying to alleviate. And so once we're done with that, they're ready to go. But at any rate, we work together. So they know what treatment looks like. They know what we typically do once we get to the end of it. So we usually kind of titrate it out. So how does it feel if we meet weekly? We'll go to every other week and see how that feels. And then if we go to every other week, we go to monthly and so on. But usually I know my clients pretty well, and because we have all kinds of different things that we go through in our lives, including sometimes like attachment issues and whatnot, then I'll bring it up for those folks that I feel like, hey, maybe you're just not wanting to say it, but hey, we're doing okay. But also doing that with regard to whatever their specific thing that came in, because you also want to make sure that people know I'm not trying to push them out. It's not a get out kind of situation or an abandonment situation. It's something that we can recognize together and push them into the next steps. And they always know that they can come back if they need to, because, hey, whatever we worked on this time, we tackled it. But life is life and new situations come up. So I do also have some clients that come back in for check-ins, or we come back and start with a new process for a new situation. So all of the things apply.
Yeah, life can happen at some time, so you're always there, ready if someone does have to come back. So, the whole reason we're doing this is if someone is searching online, they're looking for help, they're trying to figure out, who they might be comfortable working with. So, on that note, what are some triggers that people should look for in themselves where it's like, what, I need some help? What are some advice that you would have for maybe somebody that stumbled across this podcast and thinks they might need help?
Sure. So for a lot of the folks that I work with, the reason why they end up reaching out is because they've recognized, or they've maybe heard about, or they've had some experience where they've gotten a little bit of information about mental health, maybe some specific kind of issue or circumstance or situation. And so if there's any kind of identification with that, sometimes that starts a little search, but there's also this thing that happens where people know that there's something that either is a hurdle that they keep coming into, or the relationship that they keep coming into, even though it's different people, or a situation that it starts to repeat itself. And they recognize that, like, maybe it's not just like, where I work, maybe it's something else. So I end up meeting with a lot of folks who are at that place where they kind of they've gotten a touch of things. They've kind of started to put some pieces together, but they would like to have a space to continue that process and have some guidance around it. But yeah, so there's like those kinds of situations. And then there's other like super specific things, like folks who are dealing with foster and adoptive care, and just kind of like the ups and downs and fluctuations of that. There are caregivers who are reaching out because they just recognize that their kids may have had some challenges and they don't want them to start in this process of repeated things that are going on. So for my work, it really is about making sure we get to a place where people can make choices about the things that happen in their lives, as opposed to responses, unconscious responses from things that may have influenced them early on. So
yeah, you could be the most mentally strong person in the world, have no mental issues whatsoever, and then guess what? Life happens. Like sometimes things happen that are just more than someone can handle on their own mentally, and it's okay. Like it's very normal, right?
Absolutely. And like I said, some people come in, it's just a grief situation. I'm feeling really sad and I want someone to talk to. And we can do that. You don't have to do it alone. And so I think that's kind of where Felicity came from, is that I don't want anybody to ever feel like they have to do it alone. So we create a space. And if it's something that feels really comfortable for you, we're here to help out where we can, We also try to make a point of letting people know that we work on the things that you want to work on. So it's never about what I think might be an issue for you. This is about what you want to get accomplished, what you feel like is getting in the way. And once that's done, it's done,
So Tiffany, what message do you have for maybe someone that stumbled across this podcast, that if they're still listening, then they're very interested in what you're doing and they may need some help? Just words of encouragement or advice that you would have for those folks.
Yeah. So, I mean, the main thing, like we've been talking about, is you don't have to do it alone. And even if I'm not the person, or any of my staff aren't the people, we're here to help you get to the next step. So we know lots of other people that we can refer you to if we're not quite the right fit, but keep going, keep looking. And if you need support in finding those spaces, then let us know. Because your mental health is so important for so many different things. And I really kind of come from the belief or the philosophy that says, like, hey, when you take good care of you, you take good care of me. And when I take good care of me, I take good care of you. So we're all in it together. I have a really strong value around connectedness. So yeah, we can do it together.
Love that. So, I always like to end on a positive note. Obviously, without sharing details, is there a success story that really stands out to you of someone that you helped out that was in a tough situation?
I've thought about that question. I think it's a little bit hard to answer because there's so many definitions of what success looks like, right? So I have worked with a person that it took a year of us kind of having conversations before they even started treatment, because they were just that kind of trepidatious about it. And then we met through completion of nursing school, and then they went on to like living a life that they wanted to live. But success also comes in a person, like I said, anytime you can recognize that there's something that's getting you stuck, and you can create a space to make a different choice, that's a success. When somebody takes a deep breath like that, people always kind of joke with me and my clients, where it's like, I thought about you and I just took a breath, I paused. I could hear you in my head saying, you don't have to make a choice right now, just relax, or whatever the situation is. That's a success. Anytime somebody feels validated and seen and heard, like, that's a success. So the nice thing about it is those are interactions that I get to have throughout the week. And it's those little things that kind of grow into the other bigger things. And sometimes I'm there to see it, and sometimes I'm not. So that's another joke I have with my clients is I'll say, remember me when. So if I see you up on a billboard, I'll smile, but no, but I can't tell anybody that I know you. So I'll just have to keep it to myself, but that's the thing. Anytime we terminate successfully, hey, that's a win. So, and even if you come back, sometimes that's the win too, when you recognize like, yeah, I need a little bit more support. So there's lots of wins here. And that's kind of what keeps it sustainable. So yeah.
I love that. Yeah, probably, so many different scenarios that you've encountered, and that's probably the fun part of each one has its own little challenge of trying to get someone over the hump, right? So, well, hey, Tiffany, again, thanks so much for joining us here this is a good mental health awareness month kind of spotlight. I'm sure there's people that can see your smiling personality and would love to chat with you, and hopefully you can help them through their problems. So how do they go about reaching you and getting started?
Yeah, so we've got all the things. We've got the website, the www.felicitycounseling.com. We've got the social media, so that's at Felicity Counseling. So that's at Instagram, Facebook. You can hit me up on LinkedIn. And then just the old school way. So we got the email address, info@Felicity Counseling, and the phone number that, I don't know how many people use it as much anymore, but 314-884-1307 is if that's your preferred method as well. We're there to answer any and all inquiries.
Yeah, they're probably using their phone to listen or watch this podcast. I don't know if they're going to make a phone call on it or not. Those are rare nowadays. But yeah, for those of you that only did the audio version, I suggest you go to the YouTube version. It's linked in the show notes. You can see Tiffany's smiling, happy personality. She's definitely someone that would, I think, help you through your troubles. Again, thanks so much for joining us, Tiffany, and best of luck as you continue to help people out here.
Thanks so much.